All right, welcome to the 5th episode of the Casual Coaches Podcast. That is right, guys, right? Fifth episode.
Yeah, I think so.
Something like that.
Wow.
I'm not a math guy, but I think I think it's the 5th.
This is episode 5, I believe. This is being taped on November 19th, 2022. I'm Bill Crawford. If you've seen any of these before, I kind of act as the moderator and let the three-headed sports monster here talk about the details of the sports. So, again, my guest this evening on this episode, number 5, to my left, great Nate Scott from Wellsville. Ant-Man Anthony Winston also. These are all Wellsville guys, right?
Yeah.
The Wellsville thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Winston, of course, Iron Mike, the professor, Michael Reiner. This is actually the first time, made a big deal about it, but this is actually the first time the three of you guys have been together on the podcast. Am I right?
Yeah. On here with a bunch of Steeler fans.
No, let's just make it for the record that he brought it up first.
Exactly.
And he's secretly a closet Steeler fan, perhaps.
Oh, boy.
I don't know.
No, that's not true.
My big thing is Dolphins fans around here. I'm sorry to say this, but Dolphins fans around here might just be, Browns fans that are too embarrassed. I don't know. Maybe he's got some Browns in him. I don't know. Pick a side, buddy. Come on.
Hey, if you see the scruffiness here, I am participating in No Shave November for some personal causes. So that's what you up to, Mike, or what?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We'll see.
All right.
We'll see how it goes.
Gotcha. This mine's really itchy on the neck here. All right. Also, if you want more information on this podcast project, I've got 2 of them, actually, if you don't already know, a music podcast and a sports podcast. This is Casual Coaches Podcast for Sports, and I've got the Miller Green Music Podcast as well. And you can find out information about both of those at the bottom of the sign here, crawfordpodcast.com, and you can go and find everything you want to know about the project and both the podcasts, and all the episodes are on there as well, which is basically just YouTube links to each of the podcasts. You see some folks and some patrons and donors on there to help get the ball rolling with some equipment. And you can also purchase your own Casual Coaches Podcast t-shirt with the logo on there. I also have the Miller Green Music Podcast t-shirts, and they're only $10. And that's delivered. So if you're out of town or wherever, I'll get one to you for $10 out the door. Okay, we're going to start with something brand new here that I just came up with maybe a couple hours ago or so. We usually end the segments with hot takes, but we're going to do one here called cold takes. So we'll go around, save your hot take for the end, but if you want to talk about whatever you want to talk about for like maybe a minute or so on cold takes, we're going to do that. So great, Scott, go right ahead.
I want to talk about why the NBA basketball, I guess it's more of a question to you guys too, why NBA basketball, they just don't care till the playoffs. I mean, seeing some of these teams and some of these scores and the way they play, and it's terrible to watch. And that's why I've always said college basketball is over the top better than NBA until playoffs. And NBA kind of, all the millionaires say, oh, we're going to buckle down and play some defense and play basketball the right way. But I don't understand why they can't. I mean, I know it's a long season, but, I mean, the money they make, they got to be able to put a better show on than that. I mean, and some of the refs, I mean, I know Denny and Corey and some other refs are going to be like, hey, don't call out the refs, but the NBA refs, man, they're awful. I mean, there's legitimately travel every single play, moving screen every single play. So it's kind of it's bad to watch. That's why I haven't watched much. I've watched maybe 3 games so far, full games. But, I mean, I've already watched 5 or 6 college basketball games, and it started 4 or 5 days ago, and I could watch Appalachian State and Youngstown State playing basketball, and I won't care. You know what I mean? They play hard. It's fun to watch. So I just wish the NBA would be a little bit more competitive throughout the league, the whole season, not just playoff time.
All right, before we switch over to Anthony, I'm just going to interject my own thoughts there because I feel completely different this year so far. It's early in the season, but the few games that I've watched, they were some serious intensity, like it was like a playoff game. Maybe I'm watching different games than you, but I was really, really surprised.
You watch the Warriors?
As a matter of fact,
or the Lakers?
As a matter of fact, I have not, and I stopped watching the Lakers. So maybe I'm watching.
There's the 2 teams.
There it is.
I'm
watching different games than you. So because I was pleasantly surprised, but anyway, but you got a good point. That is true. Anthony, what about your cold take? Anything you want for like a minute or so?
My cold take would be, actually, I have a confession to make.
Uh-oh.
I was wrong about Luka Doncic.
Ooh.
I was afraid to give him credit when he came in the league. I used to go back and forth with Nate a lot about how good he was, but he's really making a push this year to be
Good for you,
considered
Ian.
the best player in the NBA, and he's really good.
Welcome to the club. We'll talk some more about him later. Iron Mike?
I mean, if I agree with all your sentiments about Luka Doncic, I think he's the man. But as far as what my hot take is, I've been taking a
Cold take.
cold take. It's cold, but it's still like lukewarm.
It's wintertime.
It's lukewarm. It's wintertime. It's a lukewarm take.
Is it lukewarm?
Luke-
Or just lukewarm? Go ahead.
Just lukewarm. But my cold take, basically, we take a look at this Cleveland Cavaliers Utah Jazz trade that got Mitchell to the Cavs, Donovan Mitchell, superstar type guard. I think that the trade kind of worked out for both teams, Jazz and Cavs at the top of the standings. Is this maybe the best trade as far as like both teams get their end of the bargain? Jazz getting Sexton and Lauri Markkanen, who's been tearing it up this year. They're a top team in the West.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Cavs look like they could come out of the East. I think this looks like a pretty awesome trade, guys. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's fair for both teams for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah, I'm excited about the Cavs.
Cavs with a 5-game slide, but I mean, they'll be back. It's still
Certainly.
early.
Yeah.
Winning the early games like they did in the first week of the season shows some chemistry, and they'll get there.
Yeah.
So
They know they can do it. Okay, good. That's a successful first version of Cold Takes. So we're going to kind of go through some things here. This is the first we've talked about this, but we're going to talk about local hoops here for a little bit. We'll kind of keep it brief and just sort of do an overview. We've got, of course, Iron Mike brought this special Wellsville High School basketball here. Explain what this is again, Mike.
So basically, we're taking it way back here. 10 years ago,
right.
Nate was a junior on the team. We had a pretty great team at Wellsville. And 10 years ago was my freshman year, and that's when me and a bunch of people worked together to bring back a 70s tradition at Wellsville called the Big Orange Machine. And it was a little pregame thing that we did when the team would come out, and I would announce their names as the pregame announcer, and then the Big Orange Machine would come down and they'd crush the balloon of the opposing team, and it was something that got the crowd really fired up for a few years. Our team was a run and gun team, and we only lost one game at home those 2 years to the Potters, but.
Don't tell Corey that.
Well, we'll keep that away from Corey for now. He might forget, but basically that basketball over there was given to me by the team as a gift, and I was really touched by that. I mean, I still look at that ball every day. It sits in my bedroom, and it's
cool.
signed
Everybody's
by all
on there, coaches and
the different players, and just great memories that we used to have, Nate and I, for games and the whole team, and. It's just hard to believe we're all getting old, I tell you.
We are.
it's crazy. There's our one and only podcast sponsor so far on there, Fleur.
Yeah.
There we go, Nick Fleur. Good,
Nick-
good deal.
He-
We'll bring it around backwards. Anthony, what do you think? Again, we're talking about not just Wellsville, but the local teams that our local listeners know about. Just your observation on what's coming up with the local basketball scene, if you have anything to add.
Just exciting. Just a lot of excitement. There's a lot of young teams in the area, good teams to watch for. Obviously, I'm Wellsville, so I'm looking at them, with Nate coaching and the guys coaching them up. I'm excited for what they can do. Because I've always told Nate this, and Mike was a part of that, but I feel like it's awesome that he's breathing life back into the game.
Mm-hmm.
He was there, and he knows what it takes to win. So I'm excited for that, definitely.
Yep, that's
Appreciate that.
Nate Scott, assistant varsity coach at the moment. What do you think about the local outlook of
I think there's
high school
some
hoops?
pretty good teams. I think the local teams in basketball may have the edge over the local teams in football. Just my, but I think looking ahead, I think East Liverpool will be pretty good. I think Beaver Local will have some athletes. They should be pretty good. I think we'll be pretty good. Won the league last year, returned everybody, didn't lose a soul. So we got that senior class now. So I think we should be pretty good. And then some young teams, and some teams that are rebuilding, and you got to respect the rebuild and the grind to get to where they want to be, So sometimes the schedule or record don't look as good, but you got to lose before you can win. So what some of these coaches are trying to understand now. And I think overall talent, I think it's there. I don't think top tier great, but I think it can get there. It's still early, so it'll be interesting. It'll be a good year.
Anything else to add, Mike, before we move on?
No, it just sounds like it's going to be a great year for the Tigers, and hopefully all teams locally. We like to see all our teams down here put in great work, and it's really fun because when Nate and I were in school, all the teams down here, it seemed like were pretty good. Wellsville, Beaver Local, East Liverpool, and Southern.
Yeah.
So hopefully we can see a little bit about that more this year, and all the teams will play well. That's all we can ask.
Speaking of local games, probably going on right now would be football. But if you didn't know, if you got Glenville, Cleveland Glenville, or is that what they call it? Yeah, okay. Ted Ginn Senior's Academy or whatever. Playing West Branch, and Steubenville Big Red playing somebody. But if
Indian Valley,
okay. If West Branch pulls off what would probably be an upset, and Big Red wins, I think there would be a playoff game at Patterson Field, which would be really, really cool in that new facility and everything. So I think it's maybe a long shot, but you never know.
You never know. Yep.
So I think it's going on. We're talking about this right now on Saturday night at 8:25, so it's hard to tell, but that would be really cool for a local thing. I'd go to that game for sure. That would be that would be awesome. Okay, so let's move on a little bit. We're all Ohio State fans, is that right? Mm-hmm. Okay, good. Yeah. So we can't have anybody trash talking Ohio State. But I will tell you that I scheduled this for 7. We got a little bit of a late start, but I felt bad because here comes Nate down the driveway watching the game on his phone. I thought it'd be over, and I had been super busy, and I just figured it was going to be another one of those blowouts, and they're only up by 3 with 3 minutes to go. Holy moly! So they did pull it out, but let's wrap it around the other way. And you guys are all big Ohio State fans, but talk a little bit about both Ohio State football. Of course, got the Michigan game coming up, and Ohio State basketball too, since they're doing really well early on. Go ahead, Nate.
Ohio State basketball. I mean, they'll have back-to-back top 5 recruiting classes. I think Holman's got a good team. It's early, but they'll have some tests coming up here, some good teams. But I mean, Big Ten's very good basketball, conference. Ohio State, they have the talent. Coaching seems to be there, so I mean, it's good to see Ohio State basketball back on where it needs to be, because that's what the area everyone likes the Ohio State. So, and it just makes basketball better.
Haven't they started out good in recent years and then dropped off?
Yeah, and kind of dropped off. So it's kind of yeah. They have some injuries right now, but some key players will be back. I think they'll be pretty good. And then football. They're so hard to judge. Sometimes they look amazing, sometimes they don't. I guess I could say inconsistent, But here we are. I mean, end up pulling away and winning by double digits, and we still complain. So, but, I mean, with the talent they have, I mean, the 5 stars everywhere, 4 stars. I know people are like, talent don't mean everything. You got to play. Yeah, but with the coaching staff we have, the talent we have, we should be killing a lot of teams, and just looking ahead, we'll probably talk about the Michigan-Ohio State game later on a little bit.
Yeah, sure we will.
So I won't get much into that, but I mean, Ohio State, they got to, their running backs got to be able to hit the holes. The holes are there. Everyone wants to call them soft, but the holes are there. They bounce it to the outsides. But I'm glad to see their Hayden running back. He was running back 4 on the depth chart. I think maybe one of the best running backs on the team right now. So hopefully they can get some momentum in for the game next week. That'll be a showdown.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think, Ant?
As far as the basketball team goes, I feel like they have a legitimate shot of winning the Big Ten championship, regular season wise. Once they get to the tournament itself, I'm not sure what will happen there, but I feel like they're a really talented team, athletic. They can play defense when they want to. They just have to lock in. So I think they have a legitimate shot to win it for basketball in terms of the Big Ten, and then get to the March Madness, and we'll see what happens. For football, everybody's getting on them because of the close games. I mean, we should have probably blown out Maryland, but you need close games to help you build trust in each other in tough situations, and I feel like that's what that game did today. They had to pull together.
Do teams like Maryland, who was 4-6, tend to play up to the competition, or do we play over their heads to try?
I believe
is that
so.
True?
Yes, because I think they're looking at our season's finished, but we can also ruin theirs.
Gotcha.
So I think it helps. I mean, if you look at Michigan today, they only won by 2 points against Illinois, so it was a good test for both of them, and now we'll get the undefeated showdown that everybody was looking forward to.
There we
We'll
go.
see what happens.
Professor?
My big thing is, I mean, with Ohio State basketball, there's a lot of depth in the Big Ten Conference when you're thinking about them, Michigan State. Teams that-
Indiana's going to be good this year.
Indiana's going to
Yeah.
be tough. There's a lot of teams, a lot of coaching staffs that have gone a lot deeper than theirs. I was not a big Thad Matta guy, but a team that wasn't as talented as this one went all the way to the Final Four back during Matta's tenure. So now I think Holtman, I think he knows what he's doing. I like what he did in the tournament. Unfortunately, they ran into a buzzsaw in Illinois last year. I think it was. Sometimes I lose track with my years here, but good luck to Ohio State. Basketball. Moving on to football, though, this team really just needs to out-physical somebody. Until they can do that, they will be what Ohio State is. Go all the way to the national championship and lose to the SEC team. And that's just a matter of playing physical football. Can this team win in the trenches like they did in 2014? I don't know if they can. Because there's nobody, in the trenches or on that defense. I mean, Eichenberg's tough. Steel Chambers is tough. Some of those upperclassmen. but
JTT's tough.
He's tough, yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, who's going to step up? I mean,
The talent's there. They just have to, like you said, step up.
Yep.
who's gonna step up? I mean, they're good enough to win the Big Ten. They're good enough to win the first round game, but college football is not very deep this year. I mean, Tennessee almost lost to Pitt, and they're knocking on the door to the championship. They're knocking on the door to the top four, and I saw them almost lose to Pitt with a backup. So relax here. Listen, Ohio State, all you got to do is step up.
Yep.
That's all we're saying.
And all the top teams struggled today.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Oh, man.
By the way, Mike, show off you were talking about the Big Orange Machine. You got your Big Orange Machine T-shirt or shirt on there, right?
Yeah, I got
There you
my
go.
Big Orange Machine shirt on. This is actually, I did not take the floor in warm-ups, but this is the shirt that all the players wore in warm-ups, so I feel pretty important. So, yeah, I'm wearing my Big Orange Machine shirt. If you guys can see, it's got the logo. I'll post a picture to my social here.
Cool.
But it was fun times with me and Nate and the whole team. And,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Good
but
deal.
it was good times. So we got to beat Liverpool the first game. They got the best of us the second time, but man, we could just hope that all these teams play each other and that everybody has a good time, right?
Yeah.
Best times of your life, high school sports. So enjoy it.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about college hoops. And before we do, I'm going to give a shout out to lifelong family friend, actually, Cole Daly, who's a freshman starter at Bethany. They're a D3 school down in Bethany, West Virginia, right next to Western Liberty. I've been to one of his games and been following him real closely. They actually played Waynesburg today. I didn't get the scoop on what happened today with Waynesburg at home, but he's doing great. He's got more minutes. He had a double-double the other night with 5 steals. He's just a good kid, all-around kid, and he's doing really well, and he has the sky's the limit, I think, for Cole down there at Bethany. So shout out to Cole Train. But I forget which way we're going. But, Mike, go ahead and talk about a little bit about just an overview, just college hoops in general.
Well, I mean, it's going to be interesting. I mean, Nate's really the college basketball savant here.
Yeah.
But, I mean, so many good coaches, so many good players. I love seeing, how many guys commit to different schools. One team I want to look at is the defending champion Jayhawks. Can they replicate it? Can they come back out? Can they defend their crown? Another thing is, I think a lot of guys are coming back for Gonzaga. Are they going to be able to pull it off? We'll see, man. I'm always thinking of him because I think that Mark Few is a great coach. What do you think, Nate?
Yeah, I think Mark Few is a great coach, even though they just got beat a couple days ago. But in college basketball, I mean, you can lose 8 to 10 games and and still make March Madness. So, but I mean, anybody in the top 15, I think right now has a legitimate chance to win. I'm a Tar Heel fan, but they're playing a little shaky right now, not playing much defense. I think they're getting a little high head because they returned a lot of 6 of the 7 players from the national championship. But I mean, Michigan State, even though they lost to Gonzaga the first game, I mean, they look good. I mean, Izzo's got them dudes playing, and then they'll play another tough one tomorrow. So Michigan State's going to be a tough team. I mean, but right now it's so hard to tell. I think with COVID year, giving everyone 5 years, and then NIL, I mean, I think the whole landscape of college basketball changed. I think it's good because there's a lot more competitiveness throughout the entire landscape. I mean, so it'll be a great year. You know, when March Madness comes around, it's going to be the best time of the year, of course, like always. But anybody right now, I think, in the top 15 can win it all.
The Tar Heels are struggling because there's so much pressure on them from you hyping them up on your social media for so hard before the season started. They got wind of that.
They'll figure it out. It's called just like a Ohio State. They got to step up. You know, step up to the plate, play defense. You got to win. You got to play defense. Other than that, they'll be all right.
Anything to add, Ant?
I think these guys hit it pretty well. Okay. They did. Anybody in the top 15, I'm with Nate. I'm a big Tar Heels guy, but there's some championship game hangover there, I think. They just expected to step on the floor and dominate because that's what they did last year to get all the way to the championship. So it'll be interesting to see what happens once March Madness gets underway, for sure.
All right, we touched on college football a little bit and stuff that happened today, but let's talk about that for a few minutes. And while you're at it, while it's your turn, go ahead and just jump ahead to your final college football playoff, Final Four predictions. Go ahead, Mike.
I mean, as far as the top 5 goes, what I really want to happen is I want to see the Trojans make their way in. I think it'd be super cool. Just because I think their coach is Lane Kiffin. Who's the coach over there at USC?
No,
Lincoln Riley.
Lincoln Riley. I got the names mixed up. Yeah, I'd like to see the Trojans make it in. They're a one-loss team. We would need some help there from Tennessee and TCU losing as well as Michigan, I think. But as far as if I'm betting,
all those things could happen. We know Michigan's going to lose.
Right. Well, yeah, of course. But I mean, as far as what I think is going to happen, I think we're going to see, Georgia make it in. They're the best team in the country. And then from there, I would like to, of course, see Ohio State take care of business on Saturday, make it in. TCU, I've always had a soft spot for them. First year in the playoffs, they became really close in, and I think they lost to Kansas or something, and that bumped them out the first year in 2014. So I'd like to see I'd like to see TCU take that third spot. Fourth is going to be a little bit up for grabs. Tennessee, they can make it in just based on resume. And then from there, I think Georgia would then beat Ohio State in the championship. I think it's what everybody would predict, and I just don't think Ohio State has the physicality to match up with Georgia. I know Ohio State fans are going to be upset on my Facebook. I love watching the Ohio State games with my friends, but I mean, at the same time, I just acknowledge that this is not a physical football team. Hopefully they change my mind, though. So,
Ant?
I would have to go with Georgia at number 1, Ohio State number 2, and then I'd like to see TCU, like Mike said, get in just to represent for kind of the smaller schools. And then number 4 spot, I would love to see USC get in there. I like Lincoln Riley. I think he's a good coach, and his quarterback Caleb Williams, I think that's his name.
Yeah,
I like him too. And then from there, I would like to see the Buckeyes and Georgia. But I think Ohio State would beat Georgia in the national championship.
Really?
Yeah.
Good.
Cool. Good.
Nate?
Obviously, it's going to change up after this week, or after next weekend. But I legitimately think I think Georgia stays at 1. Ohio State, Michigan winner. I think they go to 2. I think the loser slides to 4. And then number 3 could be up in the air. I think TCU will lose before the end of the year. I'm not they should have lost today against Baylor. I mean, let's be real. So, I mean, there's a legitimate chance that I think 2 Big Ten schools get in or 2 SEC schools get in, or they both get in together. Like, I think there's a legitimate chance that happens.
So win or lose, Ohio State's in, you think?
I think either win or lose, Ohio State's in, because Michigan and Ohio State's dominated all year. Today they had a hiccup, but you start giving – it's not just the SEC that is top tier talent. Michigan and Ohio State are both really good football teams. So if you lose, if a 2 beats a 3, they stay. If 3 beats a 2, how do they drop? You know what I mean? Their one loss would be better than USC's loss to a bum team. And then you can argue the argument with Tennessee, their one loss. So it's all going to play itself out, I think. But I think there's a legitimate chance that you can see Georgia, Ohio State, Michigan, and Tennessee all the top 4, and Georgia first, and then the other 3 anyway. I think so. And I think I think the world wants to see Georgia and Ohio State. I don't think Georgia's seen a team like Ohio State. I don't think Ohio State's seen a team like Georgia. So it'll be interesting, but I'll wait to make a final pick on that because I'm really not sure because injuries happen. I seen C.J. Stroud limping a little bit today. If he goes down, I say he's in trouble.
Oh.
So I don't know what the deal is with that. Our running back situation's not looking good. So and some of the coaching play calling's kind of high schoolish to me. So I don't know. It'll be good though. Next weekend will tell us everything we need to know about who's legit and who's not, and who's the big boys and who's not. So.
Gotcha. Well, let's stay with Nate and talk about his Warriors in the NBA, and are they in trouble?
Trouble? Not really because it's so early, but I do think there's some issues that need to be resolved internally with the team. Klay Thompson probably has to. I mean, Russell Westbrook's shooting a better 3-point percentage than him.
Wow,
that's not good.
That doesn't sound possible.
So I mean, Jordan Poole, you paid him $140 million. I mean, slide him in, get him more minutes. He's younger, and Klay's the heart and soul of one of the Warriors, But and then I think that Draymond Green situation, I think it was uncalled for, and I think he kind of put some, negative vibes with the team. And I think there's a legitimate chance if they don't figure it out before the All-Star break, Draymond Green gets shipped out to L.A. and Russell Westbrook gets shipped out to L.A. and there's a 3-team deal. But I don't know who the third team deal is going to be yet. But there's a legitimate chance, and I think Draymond Green goes. Him and LeBron are, now that he signed with Clutch Sports, LeBron's agency. Him and LeBron are like, they hated each other. Now they're like best friends forever. I don't get it. And that's another reason I hate the NBA because everyone's so soft and like Michael Jordan isn't going to go.
That wouldn't have happened.
Yeah, it's just not happening.
No.
So I don't think they're in trouble by the All-Star break if they're not, winning games as they should. But there's a lot of games they just didn't play defense, and I think it starts with Draymond Green. He's our defensive leader, and if he's not, being in shape and being ready to go, that's their leader on defense. If he's not doing the right thing, he's got to go. They're not getting rid of Curry, Clay, Wiggins, Poole. They just paid all them. He's the next one. So it'll be interesting.
What about the Cavs? You think they're back on track after a little bit of a?
I think they'll be all right. Yeah, I think they'll be good. They got the talent. I don't think they have one great superstar. I'm not much of a Donovan Mitchell superstar fan. I don't think he's on a top 10 player in the league, top 15.
Wow.
I don't. But I think he's right on the he's like a Jimmy Butler type. He could take over a game. But him with the Cavs have a good depth, and they're all good players after that. So they'll be able to compete. So it's nice to see the Cavs do good. Just don't get LeBron back and don't let him ruin you guys. Please don't.
Don't do it. Hey, what do you think?
As far as the Warriors being in trouble, I don't think so. They have something that only a few teams in the league have. They have championship pedigree to fall back on. Their core guys are getting a little bit older. Clay has tried to come back from 2 devastating injuries, and he's, working his way back. I still don't think he's 100%, and I don't know if he ever will be again. But 80% of Clay is better than a lot of the guys in the league. And as long as you have number 30 suiting up for you, you got a shot. So I do think there's some concerns. James Wiseman concerns me.
Sent him down to the G League, huh?
Yeah.
Wow.
He was a very high pick for them.
Yeah.
And to be in the G League at this point when he's young is not good. So they do have some concerns. But like I said, as long as Steph is in the lineup,
Right.
I'll take my chances.
Don't count them out. That's right.
And as far as Cleveland goes, I think they're a great team. I think they're going to be a tough out for anybody in the Eastern Conference. And just to disagree a little bit with Nate, I do think Donovan Mitchell is at least top 15.
Yeah.
I can name 15 players better than him right now. There's no way.
I don't know, man.
Because the one thing
I would just edit that out, so don't even bother.
the one thing they were missing, he provides.
I'll agree with that.
The guy in the last 5 minutes to throw the ball to and say, get us a bucket, because he's an elite scorer. He's proven that. And I think that's all they needed to put him over the top. So it's going to be interesting to watch teams
He's still
deal
pretty
with.
young, too, right? He could get better.
He's younger.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
Michael?
Well, I think, saying that the Warriors are in trouble, it's a long season. Listen, it would be, it's interesting that we have these November games and how Nate was talking about that they don't really mean anything. My whole thing is, what if you didn't have all this drama leading up to the Christmas Day games? like before I'd always think, let's start the season on Christmas Day. And like, if we didn't have these November games, there would be no drama, there would be no interest. But I mean, as far as Golden State, how could they be in trouble? They're literally the model of success, probably, in the NBA, in sports, really. You find your superstar, you build around them. I don't know. I just think all those guys, they can outlast everybody in the West. We all know the reason why they weren't there when the Suns were there was because everybody was hurt. So, I mean, like, we know that. That's the reason why. So, I mean, hey, everybody's getting older, but that doesn't mean you lose your jump shot. So I'll take the Warriors. They're not going to lose their jumpers, so they're going to be fine. Moving on to the Cavs, though, this is interesting. I think they're good enough right now to win the championship.
Ooh.
Right now. Right now.
You got that on tape.
Yeah, right now. I love Donovan Mitchell. He slashes to the rim. He can make a jumper. I love, Kobe Altman might be, the best general manager figuring out a way to land Jared Allen while having Evan Mobley. This could be like Duncan and Robinson all over again. You have your veteran and then you have Tim Duncan in there. Same thing with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. How about this though? Kevin Grandpa Love. He's like this one dude. I mean, you think about the Cavs big three from years ago, LeBron, Kyrie, and him. I think everybody would agree that he was the biggest liability on that team. But now that you have him able to play his role, sit outside, shoot jumpers, you got to be happy for this dude.
Yeah, absolutely.
His career could have been a lot different, but they're like, no, we're sticking with him. We're paying him all this money, and he's not going to let us down, and he has it. I think the Cavs, good enough to win the title right now. Maybe even beat the Warriors. We'll see.
Okay, I want you to blow this up like you do it right now.
We'll see.
Blow this up.
I think they're good enough to beat the Warriors right now. Let's bet on it.
Okay.
Let's do it.
All right, let's switch to my man Luka. We'll talk a few minutes about Luka. And I'm a Cavs fan. I like to follow the Cavs, but I mean, how do you not like Luka? I'm glad you came around yet. But I mean, the dude just had his 50th triple-double in the league. He's 23 years old. How far is he going to crush that record? And probably, really, my point is, what do you guys think? I mean, even 5 years, he'll only be 28. He's going to rewrite the record book. Or how many MVPs are coming? How many championships? Look what they're trying to do around him now. I don't know. I just enjoy watching him as a player because he's just fun to watch. He's a crybaby, but that could come from all the years, however he played over in Europe or whatever. But your thoughts on Luka, and where do you see him in the coming years, say 5 years or so?
Oh, I think he'd be the best player in the league. I think he's the best player in the league right now.
Could be, yeah.
I think they just released the MVP. Obviously it's early, but the MVP ladder, I think he was first or second. I can't remember. Him and Giannis and Embiid was all up there. So, and if you look at that, Giannis, Embiid, Luka, all over non-Americans.
That's true.
If them people overseas in different countries, they learn the fundamentals. They don't rely on athletic ability, and then they come over here. They're athletic, but all the fundamentals that is not taught here gets. They come right up in the league and dominate. He's 23 years old and 50 career triple doubles. That's insane.
It is.
He's great to watch. I remember a couple years ago, I told this guy, I said he's top 10 in the league then, and he was like, no, there's no way. But now he's top 3 in everybody's list. Has to be. And I think he's the best player in the league right now. He's the real deal. And he doesn't have, he has a decent team, but not like Curry has or, like the 76ers have. He's got it all. And he's so young. He's going to be dominating until he's 30, 33 years old. 10 more years of Luka being Luka Magic.
I agree.
Absolutely. What I see for him is multiple championships, multiple MVPs, and I can't believe I'm saying this because this guy is sitting right next to me, but to me, he is the best player in the league. He reminds me a lot of Larry Bird. He plays at his own pace. He's not that athletic, but he's so mentally, in tune with the game. He doesn't let anybody slow him up or speed him up. He's going to get to his spots, get his own shot. And like Nate said, who's he playing with? Who's his second best player on his team? And because of him, they're competitive. he goes into each game knowing every single night he's the main guy on the other team's scouting report, and he still gets his numbers.
Right.
It's amazing to
Man,
watch.
Christian Wood, is that right?
Yeah.
Christian
That's
Wood.
definitely helped out a little bit.
I mean, just look at it like Luka got Jalen Brunson $140 million with the New York Knicks. I mean, come on now, like that's the real deal. I mean, like
dream maker. Yeah.
yeah.
What do you think, Michael?
Well, the big thing is with me is it seems like the ball's always in his hands, but he's always making something happen. These Dallas teams remind me a lot of the old Cavs teams before LeBron left. You know, they were kind of really self-reliant on him, but they were good enough to make it to certain points. My big question is, who's going to be that superstar? Who's going to be the person that says, I want to go to Dallas? I'm surprised Mark Cuban hasn't been more active recently, considering, you know, if they don't provide the team around him, eventually what is he going to do? Is he going to trust in Mark Cuban? I tell you what, man, I haven't seen a guy that when the ball's in his hands, like he feels like he can just create his own shot effortlessly.
Anywhere.
From anywhere.
Against anybody.
Off the
Yeah.
dribble. I mean,
Or
not,
two or three of them.
not necessarily like Curry. Curry's one where you just got to watch the three-point line. And just this finals was kind of the first time where I saw Curry drive to the bucket. But this guy, Doncic, could shoot it from anywhere, could fade away. I've never seen anybody with as effective as a fadeaway.
And then his behind the back passes to people. I mean, he's ridiculous.
The vision, yeah.
Yeah, he's the real
his
deal.
handles and everything. I mean, and he got in so much better shape. I mean,
Yeah, he did.
weight. He's in good shape. It's crazy stuff like that.
I just think like him and Lillard would be unbelievable. If Lillard ever decided like, hey, like I'm done in Portland, like I want to go win with a teammate, him and Luka, they'd both be ball dominant, but I think they'd be so much fun because they're the same personality.
I was going to ask you, Mike, which one of them would you put on the ball and which one would you take off? Would you put Lillard at the 2 and then have Luka handle the ball?
As Lillard gets older, yeah, I would put Luka as the ball handler, and you wouldn't know who to guard because both guys could take you off the dribble. Both guys could shoot off the pick. Like they'd both crush it. And like, where else could Dame go where he could be a fundamental piece in a team? I just don't see why you would not want to go to Dallas if you're a free agent. Good prime spot to be in.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Well, good. That was the Lucas show, and actually, my son Owen and I, the O show, we're going to the Mavs at the Cavs game on December 17th. I'm really looking forward to that. So that's going to be so cool.
Mavs by 12.
There we go.
I'm calling a triple double for Luka too.
Watch out.
Hey,
I'm just hoping for a good game, and it's one of those things where you want the Cavs to win, but want the Luka to
Put
go
on a show.
off.
Absolutely, yeah.
All right, we're going to wrap things up. We're over time a little bit. We're going to talk about the NFL and keep it kind of simple, and we'll just jump all the way ahead to Super Bowl predictions. But first, I'm sneaking one in to see if I know how this is going to go, but too bad Corey Miles isn't here. But will the Steelers make the playoffs?
Can I
Mike.
start?
No. You can
as much as I love the Steelers, as much as I'm a fan, all day, every day, till my last breath, we are not making the playoffs.
Corey
this year.
Miles, did you hear that?
We are not making the playoffs this year.
He just unfriended you on social media.
Oh yeah, I understand. We're a young football team. We got a lot of pieces, especially our offensive line that needs fixed up. Maybe the worst offensive line in the league. We had a Hall of Fame quarterback last year. That's why we made the playoffs. He didn't turn the ball over. Now we have one of the most turnover-prone quarterbacks in the league. So there you go.
Anthony?
With TJ Watt coming back, I'm going to go out on a limb, a big one, and I'm going to say yes. There's a lot of winnable games down the stretch against a lot of bottom-tier teams, and I think they'll take care of business and get to the playoffs.
Yeah, we'll tell you that Owen and I were at that Saints game, and to see my first NFL game, by the way, which is really cool, and I get to see what goes on during the TV timeouts and stuff like that, where they're just kind of standing on the field waiting around. TJ Watt, Mike, TJ Watt gets the crowd he is over the top high energy, and he gets the crowd fired up all the time. He just takes control and gets them fired up. But you can just tell they feed on that whole thing and try to maybe elevate their game to keep up with him or something like that. But it's exciting to see in person.
Well, and it's interesting because even when you see like different, like I've never seen a guy as beloved as Kenny Pickett. Like this dude, like it's the Pitt connection thing,
Yeah.
but like people at the game love him, like love him. And I understand because I've been to some Pitt games too. Pitt's a different energy, but I mean, there's a lot to root for right now. The Steelers are not a good football team. Let's just be honest. The Browns are better in every way roster wise, and we got the same record. But I'm sorry for all my Browns fans, but it's the truth. But we got some young pieces. I mean, as much as we don't want to hear what Nate's going to say, I mean, he can't deny that we got some good players. I mean, come on, Nate, pick a side. We all know you're a Browns fan. It's okay.
Like you get the last word on it. Will the Steelers make the playoffs? Nate
No.
So
But I will give the Steelers credit because being at their games and then the fourth quarter when they play that Renegade, that makes me get fired up. You know what I mean? So I mean, it's nice to be at their games. It's fun to just go watch football. I like football, you know.
and
So
the
I'll go
pigeons
watch
and
them.
everything.
Yeah, it's it's just a great vibe there, and then especially, and I'm not football's I think is funny when the Steelers don't because I'm not used to Steelers being bad. You know what I mean? They're always average, and I always have to deal with Steeler fans thinking they're average, but they're better than average. But you know what I mean? I don't think they make the playoffs. If they do, I'll be shocked and I'll eat my words and that'll be it. But like Mike said, they got some young corner
if they
pieces.
do, we'll have a
but-
special two-person podcast with you and Corey Moore.
Oh my no!
Yes, please, yes.
All right, while we got you, we'll wrap it up on just overall NFL in general. But just to keep it simple, what are your Super Bowl? Who's going to the Super Bowl? Wish I could make a dolphin sign with my mouth.
See, I do like the Dolphins, but I don't know if they'll make the Super Bowl. I'm just gonna keep it real. So I think if you're looking at right now, Eagles, and then I would say the Chiefs with Mahomes, the Bills with Josh Allen. Even though he leads the NFL in interceptions, he's a turnover king right now. And I think the Dolphins with their offense have a legitimate chance because they can keep up with Josh Allen and they can keep up with Patrick Mahomes. But all three of their defenses, I think, are kind of suspect for them. So I think the Eagles are the clear-cut favorite in the other side. So it'll be interesting the next couple months for football. I really think so.
What do you think, Ant?
It's simple for me. I got Philly on the NFC side, and the AFC, I'm going with Pat Mahomes. As much as I argue with Nate about him, I think he's the best quarterback in football, and I think the Chiefs are going to end up winning the Super Bowl.
Nice. I had the same pick too. So I mean, I just love the Kelsey brothers. I think their little podcast they got going on. I'd like to see the brother versus brother thing. Kansas City, Philadelphia. Kansas City bouncing back with no Tyreek Hill, who's a Hall of Fame talent, by the way. Tyreek Hill, first ballot with the Dolphins right now. But if I didn't pick Kansas City and Philadelphia, I would go with a rematch of a game we just saw, Minnesota and Buffalo. I think it'd just be pretty electric. You know, two teams. One of them hasn't won since the 70s. The other one hasn't been there since before I was born, Buffalo. So, I don't know. I think
No love for the Dolphins or what?
well,
Number 2 seed in the AFC, beat the Bills. What?
well, if somebody slows down the game on them, but I mean, if I had to pick the winner of Kansas City and Philadelphia, I'll go Philadelphia. If I had to pick the winner of Minnesota and Buffalo, I'd go Josh Allen and company. I think they get it done.
All right. Hey, by the way, did the Kelsey brothers play high school football in Cleveland Shaker Heights or something like that? Aren't they from
think
Cleveland? Yeah, good.
Yeah,
That's
Cleveland,
cool.
yeah.
It's always cool to have area, I think, connections or whatever. All right, so stay there with Mike. We'll wrap things up. This is a long one, I think, but it's all good stuff. So tell us what your hot take is. Got a minute.
Well, my hot take is I kind of want to ask you guys both, and Bill, I guess, the best high school basketball player you ever saw. And this is a tough one because, I mean, how do you pick, for me, it's got to be between, you, Cam, and then probably Michael Johnson, Justin Miller, and Zane Carter. those guys, man. I mean, it's tough to pick out of everybody, but I mean, I don't know. Cam was a tough guard though, and he would be taken to the rack a lot. But I mean, you were the best scorer. I mean, so it's so tough to say who's the best high school player you ever saw. But who is it, man? I think it's a tie between all 6 of you guys. But
I think Zane, for his size, he could handle the ball, he could shoot, he literally could do it all. You know, and he was 6'6", he could do it all. I mean, and the teams they played back then was a lot tougher than, you know. But shooting wise, I think me and Michael Johnson are up there in the Wolves. You know what I mean? And some throwback to Tommy Wilson, he was, and Bevo Francis, they could play too. So it's been Wolves had a lot of great athletes play. So.
Yeah.
How about you, Anthony? How about from when you were in school, man?
From when I was in school, Josh Congrove, Bill McNichol, Jason Peanut, you know what I mean, Derek Thompson, guys like that. But my favorite, the best ever that I've ever seen, and I only seen her on video, but I'm going to throw it back a little bit, class of 1987.
Oh,
Vicky Pulley.
There you go.
wasn't she the captain at Ohio State, or didn't she play at Ohio State?
Yeah,
played at Ohio State,
she
yeah.
played at Ohio State, and that was the last time one of the last times the girls made it to state was her senior year, I think, in basketball.
Well, you said best high school basketball player you've ever seen. So, I mean, I saw LeBron James play in high school.
Oh, that's not fair.
3 times. So, to be there in person, to see him play, I mean, it was just crazy, a man amongst boys. I mean, it was really exciting, and the hype and everything. But I'm going to stay in the family. And, of course, I got to say the O Show, my son Owen was – you know, he had it all going on, and I you know, obviously I'm totally biased on that, but I had so much fun traveling around playing, and when he played AAU ball and taping all his, he still watches those DVDs and taping all those games, and you know, Tim and I having one-on-one time, all that travel in the car and stuff like that, and of course high school too. But we had a lot more fun with AAU. But I just really loved watching him play because he just he turned the corner. Maybe his sophomore year was more aggressive, and he was. Just super smooth, and you know, obviously biased, but I had the most fun watching him play during his basketball career.
Did it all: rebound, block shot, scored, passed,
stat stuffer kind of thing. Yeah. Thanks, man. Appreciate that. Okay, so there we go. I think we got a 45-minute podcast going on. But I hope if you're watching this, I'm glad you stuck around and listened to it, because we got the three-headed sports monster here, the Wellsville greats here. And don't forget about CrawfordPodcast.com. You can check out the other episodes. I can't believe we stretched it out, but we've done 5 episodes. Pretty cool. It's a good time, isn't it? This is a lot of fun. This is just a grassroots, just for kicks, not a money-maker podcast. We're just having a good time, and appreciate you guys coming up here to the Penthouse Podcast Studio on the 15th floor of the Crawford compound.
I got one question for you. If Ryan Day loses to Michigan next weekend, is he on the hot seat?
No.
Nah, I don't think so.
No.
You guys are nice.
I don't think so. Especially if you said if they lose, we're still in the top 4.
Well, still, but who was the Buckeyes coach that just couldn't beat Michigan and they said get out?
John Cooper. John
You know,
Cooper,
so.
right.
But then again, who's another coach we could replace for Day? But if he loses, I mean, there's going to be some talks. You know, there's going to be some talks.
You want him fired if they lose?
There's going to be some talks. With the talent, there's no reason for that.
That's like saying that they'll get rid of Mike Tomlin if he has his first ever losing season. That's not going to happen either.
No.
But anyway, thanks, fellas, for joining us. Episode 5, Casual Coaches Podcast. Stay tuned. I'm sure we'll be getting together again sometime over the holidays maybe or whatever. So, all right. Peace out. Take care, guys.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Good job. Man, we had